there, I'm Thomas, aka MrWartburg. This is the 43rd episode of the MrWartburg Show. Sorry for this one being a day late. I meant to mention in the last episode that I'm going to move these to Monday, essentially, because of the Let's Play schedule being Saturday, Sunday, focused for the uploads. And I'm going to put this on Monday, so I can have basically 3 straight days over the weekend and the start of the week for new content. Now, the focus of this week's episode, for the 43rd episode, is, of course, something that came out, I think it was the start of last weekend, which I binged basically in a whole day once it dropped on Netflix, would be Luke Cage. Season 1 dropped, I want to say it was like, was it 10-1? Was it 9:30? Might have been 9:30, and then 10-1 I basically watched 11, the last 11 episodes, because I watched the first 2 on the night it dropped. As far as the show goes, it was pretty awesome. I don't think it was, the best Netflix series. I think it might actually be comparatively the worst of the Netflix series. But having said that, that doesn't really mean that it's bad. It actually is quite good. I would put Daredevil Season 1 and Jessica Jones in the great category, and maybe Luke Cage in the good category. He was a part of the great parts of Jessica Jones, but didn't quite have the finishing punch that those Froze 2 seasons did, as well as Daredevil Season 2. I don't think Luke Cage really, the main villain at least, just kind of lacked that finishing punch, but I'll kind of get more into that a little bit. Now, as far as Luke Cage goes himself, Mike Colter was, again, awesome, and even in the weaker parts of the season, really carried the show episode after episode, not week after week, because it's, all at once. But he really carried it in that back half, whereas the rest of the show kind of faltered in some steps, specifically in the, his main adversary, and he really stepped it up, and I wish he could have been that awesome in Halo 5, because, Spartan Locke kind of needed some of that badassery that Luke Cage definitely exhibited in some of his one-liners, his general attitude, which is easier to sell, on camera, because voice acting, it's not on you to do the body language, especially when you're under armor, essentially, as he is in those games. But he was very awesome in this season, and I cannot wait to see where he goes in Luke Cage Season 2 and Marvel's The Defenders. First part of the season for Luke Cage was easily the best and is right up there with Daredevil Season 1 and Jessica Jones for me in terms of content that had me riveted. Mostly because it had a much more effective bad guy to, counterpart to Luke Cage, as well as his journey to fully embracing his kind of heroic, mindset, which he really gets towards in the end of the season. But his journey through there, like the first 6 or 7 episodes, is pretty awesome and is really engaging. And he has a great counterpoint with his villain and his cousin, who, she lives throughout the first season, so spoilers, but their villain relationship within, themselves and their relationship to Luke Cage and how they interacted with each other and the other characters was much better in that first kind of contained 7 episodes, and then I think it was 7, I may be misremembering when shit all went down with the villain, but it was a lot of fun, and it kind of faltered again because the main villain, spoilers, there's not really spoilers, but he has a rather specific connection to Luke Cage, and you don't really feel it until it's pretty much already done. If I had to compare it to shows I've already watched, I would say the bad guy, or one of the bad guys in the 100 Season 3, you don't really get any kind of sense of where he's coming from, or why he's even coming from that perspective, until he's basically dead. You don't get any kind of emotional connection and hooks into his story, whereas you do with the villains in the beginning of the season. You actually get where they're coming from, and it kind of helps pave the way for the relationship with the titular hero. The music was awesome. Harlem is a great setting, of course, for the Luke Cage character, and they really play that up to the hilt, and they nail it every single time. That never faltered in the entire, I think it's 13 episodes of Season 1, and that is the part I'm so excited to see come back for Season 2, just because that was awesome. Misty Knight was great, especially in her full comic book regalia there at the end of Season 1, and how she deals with Luke Cage and the advent of and the police force as well, dealing with the advent of these superhumans who either are trying to do good or are bad guys, and trying to unravel the mystery of all all the various different pieces. Luke Cage's interactions with Claire Temple, I think is her last name, basically Night Nurse without actually being Night Nurse. She actually gets some meat towards the end of Season 1, which is not what she did, really got with anything in Daredevil. And I think she had a little bit, she was a little bit in Jessica Jones. She was just kind of there in Jessica Jones. And gets some pretty decent development, for a supporting character at least. And I'm hoping she'll have a larger role in Season 2. At least that's where they're setting it up. And it remains to be seen when Daredevil Season 3 is going to come out, because she's probably going to be pretty heavily factoring into that, too. And it's nice that she's, at least in this first phase, been the go-between character, because it makes a lot of sense that she is. Just in the world she inhabits and her skill set makes a lot of sense that she's that, kind of connection, Phil Coulson level, between the, disparate entities until we get Iron Fist, which the trailer just dropped, which looks freaking awesome. I can't remember, what's that guy's name? Is it like Finn something, I think? He's Game of Thrones. He's Loras Tyrell? Something, I think. He plays, Danny Rand? Danny Rand. Yeah, I'm doing this on the fly. I had a training day at work. It went a lot longer than I thought it would, so I'm recording this and trying to get it up super, super fast. But he was awesome in the trailer. Cannot wait to see where that one goes, because he's going to, of course, be fighting the Hand. He's the Hand's, sworn enemy. So how's he going to... Is Daredevil going to show up? I would hope he does, because maybe Daredevil's the ones that's like, all right, we got to put together a team at the end of Iron Fist. And that's going to springboard into the Defenders, because the Punisher's coming out in 2017, but that doesn't appear to be tying into the Defenders, because it seems like that was kind of storyboarded and figured out before the Punisher proved so popular in Daredevil Season 2. So that one's kind of going to be its own standalone thing, which I'm super excited for. They just had some major casting news. They just casted Microchip, one of his kind of side intel characters that supports him on his journey as Frank Castle. John Bernthal is awesome in that role, and I can't wait to see what he does with that going forward for Season 2. Other awesome action-y things, news. Number one, the John Wick trailer dropped. I guess this is the last bit of action-y news, because I already talked about the Iron Fist trailer. John Wick trailer, 2 different trailers dropped. Both of them freaking awesome. John Wick, if you've never watched it, is easily one of the best action movies of the last 20-25 years. For me, it's right up there with the first Die Hard. And it was in my top 10 movies of all time list. And it's only 2 years old. That's, speaks to how great of an action movie it was. It's getting a sequel, much deserved. I wish Dredd could, say the same, because that is also just as deserved. Keanu Reeves is back. Frickin' Morpheus is going to be in this one, and they're going to interact. So we're going to get some awesome shit there. Ian McShane's character is back, and I loved his mysterious role in the first one, and I'm hoping we get that expanded upon in the sequel. And I'm very much excited for the setting too, which is Rome. That's just a cool story for an assassin's thing, or setting for an assassin story. So that's going to be awesome. And the set pieces are going to be great because of the setting of the movie. So that I'm also looking forward to. But that's kind of it. If you've watched Luke Cage, watched the Iron Fist trailer, and watched John Wick, or any and all of the above, let me know what you thought of them in the comments below. Like the video if this is your kind of thing. Subscribe to stay up to date with all my latest videos. And I will see you next Monday for the 44th episode of the Mr. Wartburg Show. See ya!